Narendra, good morning. We have a
Morning.
lot to catch up on. We've had lots of headlines being made by your leader over the weekend, alongside President Xi and Putin, and Trump calling India's stance a one-sided disaster. The way that you have been meeting and continuing to take Russian crude. Now, where do you put things from India's perspective on that front, continuing to look after itself by the looks of it?
Well, yeah, we have seen a statement by President Trump almost every second day. I mean, he has declared Indian economy is dead, and so many other statements. So I think, but India, we regard United States as a very important partner, a strategic partner, and we make a difference between President Trump and the United States of America. So our relationship with the United States of America is very deep and strategic, and we are working on it. So far, there is no structural damage. And so what we are trying to do right at this stage is to show strategic patience and hope that the 3.5 years will pass soon and the relationship will be back to normal.
Well, that's a long
But
time, though, to wait, isn't it? I mean, in the meantime,
that's
how
a
does India strategize with a 50% tariff, albeit that it may not materialize? Clearly, the indications have been that that can change. But
well,
is there any concern on the economic front from the
Well,
tariff
there are
side?
concerns, of course, this 50% tariff, out of which is, 25% is kind of punishment tariff because we import oil from Russia. And our, line is very clear. There are no sanctions by India. Those sanctions by America and Western Europe are unilateral. Those are not United Nations sanctions. You can do whatever, but we don't have any sanctions. We are a sovereign country. We have our own foreign policy. We have our own global vision, and we will continue to do what is makes sense to our economy, our importers. There is no government directive to our refiners. Refiners are free to import oil from wherever they find is better, cheaper, and being offered on better terms. And Russia offers, crude oil on very good terms. So that's why it's no love for Russia. It's economics. So, but President Trump does understand economics. He understands only real estate and the way he looks at the world. So that's a different story altogether. So I think we have no option. On the one hand, continue to push for better relationship, and at the same time, one thing is very clear, as you were referring to those pictures, those optics from the Shanghai SCO summit, and before that, our foreign minister visit to Moscow. We are a big country, home to 1.4 billion people. We have our own vision when it comes to our future. We are well on our way to become a global power in 25 years from now, $25 trillion economy, and so on and so forth. Along the way, if you have that kind of ambition that you want to be a big pole in your own right, there are going to be challenges. So what President Trump is basically, the way we are looking at it is that President Trump does not want India to become a big global power. So
Hmm.
that's how we are looking at it.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, but
that's
when it comes to the SCO summit and the optics and all that, I think, China is our neighbor. We have known China for thousands of years. Russia has always been a very good friend, a strategic partner, and will continue to pursue. And as long as they can offer us oil on good terms, good economic terms, our refiners are free to buy. If they can't, US can do it tomorrow, or some other country will buy from them. This is as
yeah.
simple.
Narendra, let's get your perspective. We know that India is going to manage all its relations very well with the US, with China, with Russia, whatever makes things tick. But do you see a new era of warmer relations between India and China, given the recent meeting, given the shifting geopolitics and the Trump mechanics, if you like? Is there an actual tangible new trajectory or more of the same, do you think? We were seeing the trade blocs take shape, the WTO obviously being not dismissed, but again weakened because of all the tariff talk, new trade relationships being set up, expansion of BRICS, etc. So is this a new era of China-India relations, do you think?
Well, I think it'd be too early to call it a new era or to term the relationship as, to use the term like warmer. I mean, we have good relations with with China, good working relationship, and we share this view that the world we all should be working together for a multipolar world, which means that countries like China, India, and Russia, they are kind of can be poles in their own right, and not only the United States. The era of uh, United States being the only superpower on the planet is gone, and President Trump is working very, very hard to make sure that US is reduced to be just a small regional power somewhere in North America, which works very well for a majority of countries in the world. But that said, at the same time, where we disagree with China, China wants to see unipolar Asia. And we have problem with that. We want Asia also to be
Yeah.
multipolar. India a pole, Japan a pole, Indonesia a pole, Australia a pole, and there we have differences with China. But today, the fact is that we don't have any big fundamental differences with China except for the border dispute and except for the fact that they have a proxy called Pakistan, which keeps on creating, exporting terrorism and so on and so forth. So we have problems basically in these two areas, but border issue, the negotiations are going well. When it comes to Pakistan, we know it very well that they're not going to give up there soon because Pakistan is a very cheap and very reliable proxy for China, and it works well for China. So we know all those things, but we know that those realities, but we are trying to find a way so that we can have a deeper business relationship with China. We can work together, not only between India and China, but maybe also in third markets and third countries, in the third regions. And Russia has been a time-tested, reliable friend of India. As I said, that our strategy is not like this. There is no country we say we don't like you. We like all countries, and we find that China has a lot to offer to us, and we have a lot to offer to China. The same goes for Russia. But at the same time, when you look at philosophically, ideologically, politically, culturally, India is closer to the West, because we are a democracy, we are a free market. So we are closer to the United States, we are closer to Western Europe, closer to Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and these countries. So we will continue to work in that direction on the same time. But at the same time, we trust Russia, and we are building a new era of relationship with China. And we are quite confident it's going to work because President Trump has kind of created problems for not for only India, for practically every country on the
Yeah, I
planet.
mean,
So
he
how do we
is.
deal with it? So that's why we come together and come
And
together and if you need to rejig, rework your strategies, by all means do that because you have no other option.
Narendra, let's close by going back to you and just give us your outlook for the Indian economy, economic growth numbers. If you can give us what you would project, for the end of this year, let's say, how will that GDP growth end up and the trajectory into next year? I mean, in the context of a bit of this uncertainty, tariff, I suppose uncertainty, 7% still on the agenda, or where are things looking these days?
Well, if you go by the latest data, that's for the last quarter, and GDP growth was 7.8%, which, given the circumstances, very impressive. And we are experiencing very good monsoon. As you know, that Indian economy gives a lot of importance to monsoon. Good monsoon means good GDP numbers. And the monsoon this year has been fantastic. But at the same time, the tariff, well, we may say whatever about Trump or the kind of, reworking the global geopolitical chessboard. But the fact remains that, tariffs are going to create problem for us, especially for small to medium, sector, which means where millions of people work. I mean, the people who work on diamonds and jewelry and leather and jackets and shoes and handicraft and so on and so forth. This is a sector that employs millions of people across the country. And they are also 80% of our exports in that segment, petroleum products, IT services separate, but I'm talking this manufacturing segment is almost 80%, so it's pretty high share. So
And
therefore,
no supply chain disruption yet, as far as you can
well,
tell.
I wouldn't say 100%. You can see some trouble. There are some clouds which have kind of started getting darker for some of the, in some of the area. There are some big buyers from the US. They have put things on hold. But we think that that's part of the American strategy to put pressure on India so that we sign the trade deal with them on the dotted line. The main issue between India and the United States and probably President Trump is he wants India to open up its agriculture sector and dairy sector, which employs 65% of Indian population. So Indian government is not going to do it. That's not going to happen. And President Trump, who doesn't understand even the United States, forget about India. So he doesn't understand that under no circumstances, no political party will go with it. We can't open up agriculture and dairy sector. So I think there's probably going to be no solution immediately. But my hope is that now that India is part of this effort to rework the global geopolitical chessboard with Russia getting more important, China getting more important, probably American State Department is going to intervene. We hope. We don't know how powerful is the State Department. But if something happens, then we try to find a middle path in the sense that, probably tariff, if not 25%, may come down to maybe 10% or something like that, and 25% will listen. We don't know. Even President Trump is predictable. But India, I just want to share with you, India and Indian economy, we're preparing economy so that we can deal with such a situation. So India is basically working long haul, preparing for it. And I think the resilience that we have in our economy, because our economy is still largely driven by domestic demand, I think we'll be able to deal with it.